Hi. She swore she'd never cheat again. That's the line I kept turning over in my head the morning I found the key. It was a Marriott key card, worn just enough around the edges to suggest use, not a spare tucked away from some old conference trip. It sat half-hidden in the back compartment of her wallet, behind her gym card and a punch pass to a coffee shop we hadn't been to in years. I was looking for a coupon she swore she had. That's all. Just a coupon. The moment I saw the key, everything slowed. It was like that second just before a car crash. The world goes quiet, the air feels thicker, and you swear you can hear your own heartbeat louder than any sound outside of you. And you know something is about to be broken. But let me rewind. Because this didn't begin with a hotel key. Not really. The first time was 5 years ago. We were 4 years into our marriage, still learning how to bend without breaking. I was traveling a lot back then, building the new branch for our company in Houston, and she was working late hours in PR, or that's what she told me. I found out through a friend's accidental slip. A name I didn't recognize, followed by too quick of a correction. I confronted her. Tears, confessions, heartbreak. She begged. And I, being the fool who still believed love fixed things, took her back. On one condition. No more lies. No more hiding. If she needed something, anything, we talk about it before it got that far again. She swore. Said it with those eyes I used to think could never lie to me. She promised, holding my face in her hands like I was glass, like she could still see her reflection in me. And for a while, things were better, or at least quieter. We did therapy, weekly sessions in a cold office with plush chairs that felt too soft for the kind of pain we laid down there. She cried a lot. I didn't. Not because I wasn't hurt. I just never knew how to grieve things that were still alive. We relearned how to live together. Cooked again. Touched again. She started sleeping with her phone face up. And I let myself believe that meant something. I didn't forget, though. I forgave, but I didn't forget. And maybe that's where I went wrong. I held on to the first betrayal like it was a life vest, because it taught me how to survive. I watched for patterns. I noticed changes. When she got distant, I asked questions. When she laughed too long at texts she didn't show me, I breathed through the jealousy and told myself, don't become the man who interrogates trust to death. But you know what they say about instincts. Even a scarred one can smell smoke before the fire. 2 weeks before I found the key, something shifted. It was subtle. She started humming around the house again, but it wasn't the songs we listened to. She dressed up on Thursdays, not Fridays. New perfume, one she swore was just a sample a client gave her. And then there was her phone, no longer face up, but always tucked into a drawer or face down beside her wine glass at night. I asked once, jokingly, got a secret admirer or something? She laughed too hard. That brittle kind of laugh that doesn't quite reach the eyes. You're so paranoid, she said, kissing my forehead like I was a child having a nightmare. You promised we'd move forward. She was right. I did promise. But promises are just words until they're tested. The morning I found the key, she was in the shower. I stood there, holding it between my fingers, staring at that faded red stripe like it could talk. And maybe it did. Maybe it whispered all the things I didn't want to believe. I didn't storm into the bathroom. I didn't shout or demand. I put the key back exactly where I found it. I wiped down the wallet like I'd never touched it. And I walked out of the house with a calm I hadn't felt in years. Because something in me knew, this wasn't just about another lie. It was about the second promise. The one that was supposed to mean more, because we'd already been through hell once. Because she looked me in the eye, trembling, and said she'd never do it again. Because I believed her, not out of naivety, but because I chose to. And now I had a key. To a hotel I hadn't stayed at. To a room I'd never entered. To a truth I wasn't ready for. Later that afternoon, I drove by the Marriott. I didn't go in. Just sat there in the parking lot, watching strangers walk in and out, any of whom could have been part of her new secret. I felt like an outsider to my own life, like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, wondering how many chances love is supposed to get before it stops being love and starts being surrender. Some promises are too fragile to last, and some keys are too honest to ignore. I didn't confront her right away. I'd like to say it was because I was being strategic, or calm, or noble. But the truth? I just wasn't ready to hear her lie to me again. I wasn't ready to watch her twist the truth into something unrecognizable and then ask me to forgive the mangled version of it. So I waited. The key sat in a small Ziploc bag in my desk drawer, buried under tax files and warranty manuals. Every night, I'd sit at that desk after she went to bed, staring at the drawer like it was ticking. I thought about checking the date of her last stay. I thought about calling the hotel, pretending I was her. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I started paying attention. She had an excuse for everything, and they were good. Too good. The kind of good you rehearse. The kind of good that makes you feel crazy for even questioning them. Where were you Thursday night? Kelly's birthday dinner. You saw the invite, remember? I nodded. I had seen the invite. On the fridge. But I hadn't seen pictures. No tagged stories. Not even a group photo. What did you guys eat? She blinked. Just a half second too long. Oh, sushi. That place Kelly loves. Which one? Another blink. A tight smile. The one downtown. Can't remember the name. I'm terrible with names. She used to remember everything. Back when we were building a life, she remembered the name of every waiter, every birthday, every wine we liked. Now she couldn't name a sushi place. I didn't press her. I nodded. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I was heading to bed early. She came up 2 hours later, tipsy from her solo wine session, and curled into me like nothing had changed. But everything had. I knew it. I think she did, too. The next day, I called the Marriott. I gave them the number on the back of the key card and said I'd lost my receipt from a recent stay. Was hoping you could confirm the check-in and check-out dates. I said, cheerful and casual. The woman on the phone hesitated. Sir, I can't share guest details without verification. I understand, I interrupted. But I just need to know if this key was used recently. I think I left a watch there. Room 815? Silence. Then, that room was checked out yesterday. I didn't say anything. Not at first. Just sat there, blinking at the wall. And the name on the reservation? I asked, already knowing she wouldn't give it. I'm sorry, I can't share. No worries, I said, voice steady. Thanks anyway. I hung up. My hand was shaking. Yesterday, the same night she was supposedly at Kelly's birthday dinner. Room 815. I wrote it down, not because I'd forget, but because I needed it to be real. Tangible. Something more than just a suspicion in my gut. That night, she was chipper, almost glowing. She poured wine before dinner, played music while she cooked. She even danced a little, something she hadn't done in months. And I watched her, wondering who she thought about while chopping garlic. Wondering if room 815 was a one-time thing, or if it had a rhythm, a routine. When she slid my plate in front of me, she leaned down and kissed my cheek. You've been quiet lately, she said. Everything okay? I smiled. Nodded. Just work. She looked at me for a moment, like she was searching, or maybe waiting for me to say it, to pull the pin. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I asked, did Kelly have fun last night? Oh yeah, she said too quickly. She got a little wild. Took a tequila shot and almost cried. I stared at her. Sounds like her. She nodded, turned back to the stove, and added, I told her next year we're doing something smaller. Fewer people. Fewer people. No pictures. No trace. No witnesses. The lie settled between us like steam. I didn't eat much that night. The pasta tasted like metal in my mouth. But I smiled. Played along. Because now I wasn't just suspicious, I knew. And knowing changes everything. It doesn't make it easier, though. If anything, it makes it heavier. Because once you know, the clock starts ticking. What do you do with that kind of knowledge? When someone breaks a promise that already came after another broken promise, you start asking questions, not to them, but to yourself. How long has it been going on? Why now? And the worst one, was she ever really done the first time? Or did she just get better at hiding it? The next morning, I took a walk. No phone. Just me and the cool air and the sound of my own thoughts tearing themselves apart. I didn't know who he was. Not yet. But I had a name in mind. A guy from her office. Someone who laughed a little too long at her jokes when we all had dinner one night. Someone whose cologne lingered a little too long on her coat once, even though she claimed they'd just bumped into each other on the elevator. But that wasn't the point. It didn't matter who he was. Because this wasn't about him. It was about her. About the way she said, never again, and meant, not until I'm better at it. And now, I had proof. Not just the key, but the silence around the lie. The invented birthday dinner. The room number I couldn't forget. She swore she'd never cheat again. But some promises are too fragile to last. I waited exactly 6 days. 6 days of watching her rehearse happiness in our kitchen. 6 days of wine glasses clinking and evening showers that lasted longer than necessary. 6 days of kissing my cheek like she hadn't traded our vows for the linens of room 815. On the 7th day, I left work early. She wasn't expecting me home until after 7. We had a routine, a rhythm she'd learned to rely on. But that day, I opened our front door at 3:43 p.m., quiet, methodical. The house was silent, except for the faint hum of a playlist she often used when getting ready. I found her in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror, applying lipstick, hair curled. Dressed like she was going somewhere that required soft lighting and shared glances across small plates. Her phone buzzed on the dresser beside her. She didn't notice me right away. She was smiling at herself in the mirror, practicing a look I hadn't seen in months. The kind of look you reserve for someone you're still trying to impress. When she saw me in the reflection, she startled. "Hey," she said, forcing a laugh. "You're home early." I stepped inside, closed the door behind me. "Yeah, slow day." She turned to face me, adjusting her earring. "I was just heading out to meet Kelly again. She's been going through some stuff." I nodded, then walked over to the dresser. Picked up her phone. She stiffened. "What are you doing?" I held it up, gently. "Do you mind unlocking this?" She blinked. "Why?" "Because I think we both know Kelly wasn't in room 815 last week." The silence after that sentence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Her breath hitched. Her eyes didn't widen, not in surprise, not in fear. Just a slow blink. Like she'd been expecting this moment. She didn't reach for the phone. Instead, she sat down on the edge of the bed and looked at the floor. "You went through my wallet." It wasn't a question. I was looking for a coupon. A soft, humorless laugh escaped her lips. "Of course you were." "Was it him?" I asked. "The guy from work?" She shook her head, still staring at the floor. "No, not him." I waited. She didn't elaborate. After a moment, I sat down on the chair across from her. The air between us felt sharp, like it would cut if either of us breathed too hard. "I need to know," I said. "Because you looked me in the eye 5 years ago and promised you'd never do this again." "I know," she whispered. "I meant it when I said it. That's what makes it worse." She finally looked up at me then, eyes red but dry. "I didn't plan it. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even love." "Then what was it?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to feel like I had something that wasn't stained by the past. Something untouched." "Untouched?" I echoed. "You mean someone who didn't know what you did before?" She didn't respond. And I realized then, it wasn't about him. Not really. It wasn't about sex or affection or even escape. It was about her. Her guilt. Her restlessness. Her inability to sit in the stillness of a marriage that required real work after the damage had been done. She wanted clean slates, even if it meant dirtying herself all over again to get them. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady. "I'm not going to yell," I said. "I'm not going to throw anything. I've been angry before. I've been broken before. But this time, I'm just done." She didn't try to stop me. As I walked to the door, she asked, "So what now? You just leave?" "No," I said, turning back. "You leave." Her eyebrows knit together. "What?" "This house is in my name. It always was. After the first time, I protected what was left. I just never told you." Her lips parted. "You planned for this?" "I hoped I'd never need to," I said quietly. "But some promises are too fragile to last." She stayed seated, silent. I didn't look back again. I packed a small bag. I booked a hotel, not a Marriott. The irony would have been too much. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I just sat on a stiff hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how love dies. If it's loud or quiet. If it screams or simply stops showing up. And I realized something. Love doesn't die in the betrayal. It dies in the second one. In the one that comes after the forgiveness. After the therapy. After the rebuilding. After you've poured your soul into believing again. That's when it breaks you. Because it's not just the act. It's what the act says. That everything you gave the first time meant nothing. That your grace was wasted. That your hope was a joke. She swore she'd never cheat again. And I believed her. That's on me. But this ending? That's on her. Bye-bye.